Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is your space for, well, knowledge, insights, and hopefully a few aha moments along the way.
Looking forward to it.
So today, we're really diving deep into something that's quietly, but I think fundamentally, reshaping, well, everything. Global economies, your personal wealth, business models.
Yeah. Even how we think about the future, really.
Exactly. We are talking about modern finance.
And it's such a critical topic because we need to get beyond just thinking about, credit cards in isolation or the stock market over here or maybe crypto over there.
Right. Separate things.
Yeah. Modern finance is really, it's like a whole new language of money. It's driven by tech, obviously, data everywhere, this global reach, and maybe most importantly, a completely different mindset, a new way of thinking about wealth and value itself.
A new language of money. I like that. So, okay, our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack what that means, why modern finance isn't just, another trend, but a really foundational shift, and how it's actually changing your life right now, even if you haven't maybe quite clocked the seismic shifts happening under the surface.
Yeah. And we should explore, is this all empowerment, or are there sort of hidden risks reshaping things in ways we don't expect?
Definitely. Okay, so maybe to get started, to really understand what makes finance modern, maybe we should just quickly touch on the basics. Like, what is finance, fundamentally?
Good idea. Back to basics. At its absolute core, finance is just the management of money. Simple as that, really.
Okay.
But that management covers a huge range. I mean, from your personal budget and investments, all the way up to how governments handle, say, public debt, or how massive corporations fund their operations, their growth.
And it feels like it's always been about more than just the numbers, though, hasn't it? More than just dollars and cents.
Absolutely. It's always involved value, assessing risk, the element of trust.
Trust, yeah.
And managing information. Finance is basically how we decide where to put resources today to try and build something for tomorrow.
Right. Shaping the future.
Exactly. And traditionally, finance was, very centralized. Think big banks, Wall Street, insurance companies.
Usual suspects.
The usual suspects, yeah. Getting access often meant breakers, tons of paperwork. It felt kind of slow, a bit exclusive, lots of gatekeepers.
But that's changing.
Oh, it's been fundamentally disrupted. Massively.
So what is that fundamental shift? What makes today's finance truly modern compared to just, finance as it used to be?
Well, if you boil it right down, I think it comes down to three main pillars: technology, decentralization, and inclusion.
Okay.
And the real magic, the real change happens when you see how those three interlock and amplify each other.
All right, let's take those one by one. Technology first. I mean, I think most people get that tech makes things easier, faster, but how has it really revolutionized finance beyond just, convenience?
It's gone way beyond convenience. Technology hasn't just democratized access, it's started to decentralize trust.
Decentralized trust.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Well, you're not solely relying on, say, your traditional bank to hold your money or make a trade anymore. With literally one tap on your phone.
Yeah.
You can buy stocks, you can trade crypto, you could even buy an NFT, a non-fungible token. That ease, that direct connection, it empowers individuals in ways that honestly were unimaginable just a generation ago.
It is a profound idea. Decentralizing trust. And it leads straight into that second pillar you mentioned. Decentralization itself, especially with things like blockchain.
Yeah.
How does that challenge the old power structures?
Well, think about a crypto wallet.
Okay.
It's not tied to where you were born or your credit score or getting government approval. It's just an address on a network. That fundamentally shifts control away from those big central institutions and puts it more into the hands of individuals. It gives you a remarkable level of autonomy over your own assets.
Which then flows perfectly into pillar number 3.
Yeah.
Inclusion. If tech makes things accessible and decentralization breaks down the gates, what does that mean for people who've historically been, left out?
Oh, it's a total game changer for banking the unbanked. We're seeing it already. Micro-investing apps, where you can start with a few dollars. Peer-to-peer lending platforms. Mobile banking transforming economies in developing regions.
Yeah.
These things are bringing essential financial tools to literally billions of people who had zero access before. So modern finance isn't just about making things slicker for the wealthy. It's actually about extending basic financial capabilities to a much, much wider global population.
So if you weave those three together, technology, decentralization, inclusion, you get something that's incredibly agile, globally accessible, and potentially profoundly inclusive. And maybe the key difference, the thing that really separates it from the past, is that its power seems to come from data and code.
Exactly.
Not just from people and traditional policies anymore. It's like the rules of money are being written in software.
That's a great way to put it, encoded. And that naturally leads us to ask, okay, what are the actual tools? What are the trends making all this happen right now?
Yeah, let's get concrete. What are the innovations really shaping this landscape? First one that comes to mind, the big umbrella term, fintech.
Right.
We're talking companies like Robinhood, Stripe, PayPal, Revolut, all those names.
Yeah.
This seems to be about using smart tech to just simplify financial services, right?
Yeah.
Changing how we save, invest, pay.
Absolutely. It's about reducing friction. Then you've got the whole world of cryptocurrencies and blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, sure, but also this burgeoning area called DeFi, decentralized finance, and NFTs.
Programmable money, you called it.
Yeah, programmable money. Think of it like money with rules baked in, smart contracts that execute automatically when conditions are met, no middleman needed. Now look, it's still volatile, it's still evolving, no question.
Oh, yeah.
But its real role is pushing the boundaries of what money can be, creating totally new ways to exchange value.
And you can't really talk tech these days without mentioning AI and machine learning. How does that fit into finance?
It's everywhere already, often behind the scenes. Ever wonder how your credit card company flags fraud most instantly? That's AI. Or those robo-advisors that suggest investment mixes. AI again. It's used for risk assessment, predictive analytics, automating customer service with chatbots. It's becoming pervasive.
Okay. What about buy now, pay later? BNPL. That seems huge, especially in retail.
Definitely a significant trend. Companies like Affirm, Afterpay, Klarna, they give consumers instant access to buy things without a traditional credit card up front. Now, it offers flexibility for sure, but it also, brings up serious questions about consumer debt and responsible spending habits. But it's undeniably disrupting how people shop.
And one that sounds almost sci-fi, but is actually happening. Tokenization.
Yes, this is fascinating. The idea is you can digitize real-world assets.
Yeah.
So imagine owning a tiny fraction of a famous painting, like a Picasso, or a share in a luxury hotel, all represented by digital tokens on a blockchain.
So you can break down big illiquid assets.
Exactly. Break them into smaller, tradable pieces. And that means these assets, which were previously hard to buy or sell, can now potentially be traded globally, 204/7. It dramatically increases liquidity and opens them up to way more investors.
So when you look at all these tools together, fintech, crypto, AI, BNPL, tokenization, what's the bigger picture?
The bigger picture is that they're fundamentally changing the velocity of money, how fast it moves, where it goes. They're reshaping how businesses get funding and grow, and they're providing completely new ways for ordinary people to build and manage their wealth.
Okay, so let's pivot and make this super personal. What does all this modern finance stuff mean for you listening right now? Because it feels like we're living through a genuine personal finance revolution.
I think a massive part of it is just the sheer access to knowledge. Think about it. Historically, financial literacy, good financial advice, was often locked behind expensive advisors or, opaque institutions.
All right, you had to know who to ask or pay a lot.
Exactly. Today, you can learn investment strategies, how to budget effectively, even the basics of buying property. From free YouTube videos, podcasts like this one, online communities like Reddit, all from your phone. The barriers to just getting informed have absolutely plummeted.
Totally. And then there's the banking itself, mobile-first banking. Your bank is literally in your pocket now.
Right.
These apps offer instant money transfers, incredibly detailed budgeting tools that track your spending automatically.
Categorize everything.
Yeah. And some even let you manage fairly complex investment portfolios right there.
Yeah.
It's all about immediacy and control.
And that immediate access directly enables fractional ownership, which we touched on. This is huge for democratizing investment. You don't need, say, $3,000 to buy one share of Google anymore.
Right.
You can invest $10, $50. My 10-year-old could literally buy a tiny slice of a major corporation with their pocket money now. It just smashes the entry barrier for getting started with investing.
And doesn't that directly fuel this whole explosion we're seeing in side hustles and new monetization models?
Absolutely. Modern finance tools make it incredibly easy to set up new income streams. Think about it. Affiliate marketing, renting your spare room on Airbnb, setting up an online shop with integrated payments, even just creating content online and monetizing it directly through platforms, if you've got a skill, an asset, a passion, modern finance provides these really agile tools to turn that into actual income much easier than before.
But there's a flip side. Maybe, while the access is there.
Yes. The crucial point is that while modern finance gives you all this access, all these powerful tools, financial literacy, real understanding is still paramount. It's like being given the keys to a very fast car.
Yeah.
Knowing how to actually drive it safely, understanding the rules of the road, the potential risks and opportunities, that's where the real empowerment comes from. The tools are great, but wisdom in using them is key.
Makes sense. And it's not just personal finance, is it? Businesses, especially startups, are seeing massive changes too. How they raise money, manage funds, go global. It's all different.
Completely different. It's fascinating watching how venture capital itself has gone truly global. Startups aren't just pitching locally anymore.
No,
they can literally raise funds based on a compelling Twitter thread or through a YouTube channel showcasing their product or using global online pitch platforms. It bypasses all those old geographic limits, connecting founders and investors across continents like never before.
And just basic operations like getting paid.
Oh, yeah. Think about remote payments.
Yeah.
A freelance graphic designer, say, living in Nepal, can finish a project for a client in the US and get paid almost instantly, maybe in crypto with minimal fees, no waiting for banks to open.
Yeah.
That kind of smooth, low-friction, cross-border transaction, that was science fiction just a few years back.
It really was.
Yeah.
And then there's this idea you hear about, embedded finance. What's that about?
Right. So finance is basically disappearing into other applications. It's no longer a separate thing you have to actively go and seek out.
How so?
Well, your ride-sharing app might offer you a small loan for gas money right within the app. Or an e-commerce site you're shopping on might offer you tailored insurance for the product you're buying right at the checkout.
Ah, so it's just there, part of the experience.
Exactly. Woven into the digital fabric. Finance isn't a destination anymore. It's just part of the journey online.
And we're even seeing totally new structures emerge, like crowdfunding and DAO models.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Startups don't necessarily need to go the traditional IPO route or chase venture capital anymore. Communities can fund them directly through crowdfunding platforms.
Right.
And then you have DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. These are essentially organizations run by code, by rules embedded on a blockchain, where decisions are often made collectively by people holding the organization's tokens. It's a completely different way to think about business governance, community ownership, shared decision-making. Really radical in some ways.
Okay, but it can't all be positive, right? With such rapid change, there must be downsides, risks.
No, absolutely. Innovation always comes with risks, and finance is no exception. We've definitely seen a worrying rise in fraud and scams.
Like what?
Well, things like rug pull crypto projects where developers launch a token, pump it up, then disappear with all the investors' money.
Ouch.
Yeah. Or really sophisticated phishing scams trying to trick people into giving up access to their digital wallets. New technology, unfortunately, always attracts new kinds of bad actors. Vigilance is crucial.
And this ties into regulation, presumably, or the lack of it.
Exactly. There's often a lack of coherent regulation. Governments, regulators, they're struggling to keep pace with how fast everything is moving. You see it especially with crypto. The laws are completely different from one country to another. That creates a really complex, sometimes quite risky environment for everyone involved, especially when you're dealing with a global system.
And what about privacy? If everything's digital, trackable.
That's a huge one. Privacy concerns, your data, your transaction history, it's increasingly seen as the new currency, right? And with technologies like blockchain, while they offer transparency, that can also mean every single transaction is potentially recorded forever on a public ledger. So there's this fundamental trade-off. How comfortable are you with that level of transparency? Where's the balance between the benefits of openness and the need for individual privacy? It's a massive societal question we're grappling with.
And I've heard some critics talk about over-financialization. What do they mean by that?
Right. The argument there is that modern finance might be pushing us towards turning everything into a tradable asset, into a market, even things like, say, human attention or digital art. The concern is, if you assign a monetary value or a token to almost anything, does it risk reducing complex human activities, relationships, maybe even art itself, down to just mere transactions? Could it fuel anxiety, encourage more debt, maybe even worsen inequality by pushing this sort of market logic into every corner of life. That's the worry they raise.
That's a heavy thought.
It is, and it really underscores the critical need for strong ethical frameworks. As this technology develops, we have to make sure it's actually empowering people, creating genuine opportunity, and not being used to exploit vulnerabilities or deepen the divides that already exist. That's a huge responsibility that comes with all this power.
So looking down the road then, what's next? The landscape is obviously shifting constantly, but are there any major trends starting to emerge more clearly?
Definitely. One big area is central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. We're seeing governments all over the world seriously exploring, and in some cases piloting, their own digital versions of their national currency.
So like a digital dollar or digital euro?
Essentially, yes. That could have massive implications for the financial system.
Wow. Okay. What else?
We absolutely cannot overlook the ongoing massive impact of financial inclusion in developing regions, particularly across Africa and Asia. Fintech, there isn't just a convenience, it's a revolution. It's bringing access to capital, to credit, to basic banking for millions, hundreds of millions, who were completely shut out before. That story is still unfolding, and it's huge.
That's incredibly important.
And another really vital area is green finance. There's a growing movement to specifically channel investment, loans, financial products towards businesses and projects that are focused on environmental sustainability, on tackling climate change.
Aligning money with planetary health.
Exactly. Using finance as a tool for positive environmental impact.
Any more futuristic predictions? AI CFOs.
Well, maybe not tomorrow, but the trend towards automation is undeniable. Could we eventually see AI managing significant parts of a company's finance department? It's certainly plausible. Streamlining operations, changing the very nature of financial jobs. Interesting. And maybe looking even further out, this whole Web3 concept and new ownership models. The idea that users won't just be customers of online platforms, but actual shareholders.
Right.
Owning a piece of the applications they use. Yeah. Owning a piece of the communities they participate in. That could create a much more democratized, interconnected digital economy where value flows back more directly to the users and creators. Still early days, but a powerful idea.
So it really feels like finance is anything but static. It's this living, breathing, constantly changing system.
Absolutely. And the key thing for you listening is that you're already part of it. Whether you're a student figuring out loans, a creative selling work online, an entrepreneur raising funds, or just managing your household budget, you are an active participant in this transformation, whether you realize it fully or not.
So if we try to wrap this all up, after this whole journey, what is modern finance? It's definitely fast.
Very fast.
It's global, no question. It can feel overwhelmingly complex sometimes.
It can, yeah.
But what seems really compelling, I think, is that it's also just packed with opportunities. Opportunities to maybe grow your wealth in new ways, learn new skills, build innovative things, maybe even just dream a bit bigger about what's possible financially.
I think that's right. At the end of the day, whether you're investing your very first dollar using a simple app, or you're, deep in the weeds building the next big fintech startup, this new age of money fundamentally seems to be about empowerment.
Empowering through
giving you more tools, more access, and ultimately, hopefully, more control over your own financial path, your financial destiny.
Well, thank you for joining us on this pretty deep dive today. As you listening reflect on all of this, maybe think about what part of modern finance resonates most with you. Does it spark excitement? Maybe confusion? Does it raise more questions about those risks we talked about?
Yeah, it's worth considering.
It is. We really invite you to just think about your own relationship with this incredibly dynamic, constantly evolving landscape of money. Thanks for tuning in.